Hey, it's me, Red Hawk. It is, I guess it's election day in the United States of America. So it's November 3rd. Merry Christmas. Um, it is also Happy Mercury going direct day. I'm actually here to see if I can make a video for people, groups, and um, this, I was going to have a Zoom meeting with a certain conscious community group, and I decided to make this video so that I could just give the presentation to a few more people on a few more platforms. So the topic for this video is 5D New Earth and how to get there. So I just want to say that to begin the conversation, that 5D is not a place in space. It is rather a way of living your life. It's a way of thinking, and it's a way of processing energy. And it also has to do with information. So because what happens is that you get information. This information creates a realization within you, which then changes your perspective, which then changes your vibrational makeup and magnetics. And then you begin to remagnetize, and you begin to, let's say, your body is covered in electrical outlets, and all of your outlets have 3D plugs in them. And so what happens is that through information, which gives you realizations, which change your thoughts and your perceptions and your feelings, you end up with a whole new set of plugs. And what can happen to you in this process is that you can feel very alone. You can feel like nobody understands you, like, maybe like you come to the realization that a lot of people in your life were kind of sucking your energy and not giving you what you wanted, but you were trying to please them because your perspective was what is important, what has changed. I want to say that the reason it's so very difficult, now just to sort of move on to an analogy that is meant to help people who are trying to figure out what to do. It seems like there's no options. Well, that's not true. Let me just move into the analogy and it'll help us understand why this is so difficult. Okay, so let's just, now this 3D, 5D terms that I'm using actually refer to the reality that you're living in now, not other dimensions, okay? So let's say 3D is one train, 5D is another train. Well, on the 3D train, you know that exactly what's going to happen, and you know that, let me just refer to how this kind of all came to me last night. I wrote it down, which is highly unusual for me to write down things and prepare them. I kind of always expect that if I stay in my heart and I stay in the 5D vibration of truth, that everything will go well. So, but what I had here was the two trains, and one is 3D, one we know, and we know if we get off, we can never get back on. And so that's very terrifying. It's very terrifying for a community or a person to say, I want to move into this new thing. But the thing is that to do that, I'm not going to have a bank account or a house, or I'm not going to be attached to the government anymore. Even though if you have the same conversation with that person who's on their way to 5D, they'll say the banks and the government are bad. Of course, they have no idea of how to get away from them. And so here we are. And then the part of the terrifying thing is that this feeling that if you give up on the 3D, you'll never get it back. And guess what? You won't. So that is a major stumbling block and a fear that you'll have to think about. Now, the 5D train works like this. We don't know what's on there, but we do know that if we get on, we won't be able to get off. And that is also true. So now I'm going to move into examples from my life. because that's also a great way to kind of get things across. When I realized that these things, like about 20 years ago or something, I was like, okay, no problem. I need to get rid of my citizenship, give them back all their ID, and I need to move on to the land. I need to create a respectful relationship with the indigenous people who have had this land in their ancestral families for so many thousands of years. And I also need to remember that Earth is my inheritance and I'm a human being who has every right to do whatever the heck I want out there. So I did go about enacting that by moving to the forest, inviting other people to be there. And yeah, I was hit with $20,000 fine at one point. I've been arrested a couple times, although that was for directly protecting the trees. But you know what? In the end, truth won. And in the end, I have access to an entire fifth dimensional perspective, which means that my vibration is locked in or plugged in to higher concepts of justice and truth that actually allow me to function there. And what happens is that when people come into my world, if you will, they function more like 5D than not. And this is how I'm also going to say you should cope with these changing times and how difficult this is. You need to be strong within yourself. You need to have your own spiritual power, and you need to have sorted it out that you are not going to compromise and that you are not going to understand, that everyone has to make sacrifices and compromises and lower their standards in order to survive, because you don't. Now, if you want to suffer with not having a clean conscience and a clean life and so on, that's okay with me. But I think you should suffer with how difficult it is to get on that train and how difficult it is going to be for you to learn how to do things in a new and a better way. This is where we're going. And I also want these groups to know that you should use their laws against them. The government does not own Earth and you. Please look into this, and you'll find out that freedom is quite possible, and it is really only your fear that stops this from happening. Sorry to say that. I know it doesn't sit well with you right now. The other thing is trust. Who's got it? Nobody. So it's probably a good idea, if you're trying to form a community, that you figure out how to establish trust. How it is that you determine if someone is not telling the truth, putting their best foot forward, and then you find out later, and all that kind of stuff. And this is also, it's huge. So it's like, hey, I need some kind of, guidance system, so that we are able to establish trust. And I don't know, I had some things I think written about trust or something. Planning for the conflicts and frictions and blocks and also lies and betrayals people and their negative aspects of relationships and communities are difficult to address, but they must be. I don't have all the answers, but I feel presenting the problems allows for solutions to emerge from the collective that receives this message. Clever. We have heard lead by example, and I spent most of my life feeling like that was not me, but now I see the ways I did. Yeah, so I wanted to share that, yes, I have moved out onto the land, and I have said to the Ministry of Forests, to the federal government, the provincial government, the civic government, and anyone else who would listen, excuse me. I know this might sound weird, but I'm actually a free human being, and this is my earth. Prove to me that that's not true. I do not accept citizenship at birth. That was citizenship without my consent. I do not accept a government that goes to war. I have never voted in my life. I don't think that I need to. So, not accepting totalitarianism is pretty darn easy. But can you accept the things that you're going to have to do in order to live that way? Right? Okay, so right, because you're going to have to deal with things like purity, fairness, justice, clarity, truth. You're going to have to move into the spiritual religious zone, and that is tricky business, because most religions and spiritualities, even just all of them, have in some portion of them or all of them used these wonderful, amazing values which we would normally be throwing our hands up, hey, yeah, let's live that way, except that they used all of those things to cause more war, to cause more poverty, oppression, trauma, even sexual abuse. So we would have to, in my opinion, this is my opinion, relearn how to be close to spiritual values that are obvious guidance systems that would work if they were being enacted by people who were pure and truthful and nice and stuff in the first place. Okay. In conclusion, I actually have that written here, which would be great because I have no way to get out of this. I didn't really plan it. We're just doing it. This is my Christmas tree. You see how the leaves are brown and stuff because it's been up since last year, because I don't actually celebrate Christmas, and I never have. But I knew that the changes that occurred in December astrologically and cosmically needed to be marked. And so, I mean, that's what was happening. So that's how I marked it. And I want to say that the elections is irrelevant. Okay, please get over it quickly. Real quick. Okay, right. So in conclusion, I am looking for others already experiencing aspects of 5D New Earth, okay? I don't have to explain to you what that is. You already know. And you're like, okay, now that I made it through that October 31st portal, where are my people? We're going to find each other. We already know what to do, okay? Of course, I love you, but I can no longer say I love what you do if you're not doing what benefits all.